getting into the final part of our panel incredibly quickly, but I don't want to lose the very interesting question about, well, the roadblocks, absolutely, but also we've got this question about if we can make technology also become more inclusive in terms of the artistic dimensions, does that make it more attractive? Does that also make the kind of skills that you're needed more complete? So could I have a quick volunteer on roadblocks and the question of the arts?
Actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to actually answer the question of the economy. Now, that is a very good question, the young lady who asked the question on the economy. And 9 out of 10 panelists, including me, cannot answer that question. Now, this is a gap between the conventional thoughts which underlie economic frameworks, such as rent-seeking, productivity, job growth, and the impact of AI. So this idea of who are the new landlords? People say the new feudal landlords are the ones who own the capital. Well, who are the new capitalists? They are the ones who own the AI. They are the ones who own the data. But no economic research has yet been done. And I just wanted to highlight that at AIM and others. I think this research is now happening, but I would encourage anyone in academia, and I must say I'm embarrassed that I haven't looked at this myself before, but just because nobody answers that question does not mean it is not perhaps one of the most important questions that has been addressed to this panel.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can we quickly take roadblocks? Who would like to take roadblocks? Yep, Erika?
So the question on how receptive are the people, yes? What I learned was that they are very receptive if we can really enunciate, really tell them what AI is. We shouldn't just assume things that, we are convinced how powerful it is, but there are steps that we need to take. What surprised me, especially in the Philippine context, is that most of the decision makers that we meet are not even aware of data science or AI, right? So that's where the roadblock is. If they don't understand what it is, if what they think of is that you're just collecting data from us, right? I think you'll have a serious problem. So again, it all goes back to education. Educating the people, showing them successes, quick wins. And slowly, hopefully, we get to really convince them to jump on like the AI wagon. Another roadblock is resources. This is why I'm very, like what I mentioned earlier, governments really need to help the other companies that cannot afford have. That's a serious roadblock for a lot of SMEs especially.
Great, thank you. And anyone to pick up this art and science, not in opposition but together?
Well, I would like to just add, because to me, I think it's so natural. Science and technology, they are like art, and this is just so natural. I guess then I will start to think, why is it so natural? I guess when you love something deeply, it's just natural. Like madly love creates art. That's just how it is. So I guess it's a change of, maybe it's a change of mindset that we're gonna love what we do instead of we think that's the right thing to do.
Thank you. Now, if all of the 650 or so of us who are gathered here in Manila today and tomorrow, if we had to take away one key message from your perspective about augmented intelligence, or what was the other one? Amplification, thank you, and work. What would be the key message that you would be encouraging us all to take away from your perspective about the future world of work and the responsibilities of employers and businesses in particular for responding to that? Who's going to kick us off?
Well, I can go first. All right, I'll make it like we don't have much time. So I think first thing, look, the way we work today is definitely going to change. There's nothing you or I could do to stop it, even though we are the ones working on these technologies that are going to make the change. So we just need to be prepared for it. We need to continue to learn. We need to continue to evolve. Overall, though, I'm an optimist. I do think it will make us more productive. I think it will lead to more innovations. It will lead to us being able to solve new problems that we don't even know how to begin, how to tackle today. So I'm really optimistic there, especially when it comes to education. So how do you educate like a couple billion people who are still uneducated, and how do you really tackle healthcare issues that are global? I'm from Canada. We have a great healthcare system, but I look at the rest of the world and I see, there's so much more that needs to be done. So I do think technology is going to really help in healthcare and education. So just keep that in mind. Sorry, what was the second part of your question?
We've done nicely because we are almost out of time.
Okay.
So Kathy, quick sort of...
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm just because I'm thinking. You mentioned technology. You mentioned role of technology. I'm still in great doubts. Of course, no one can stop the future, but the relevance of technology, especially in the developing world, are we widening the gap? Are we closing it down? I don't know. I don't have an answer. But there are many schools of thought are arguing and it's not the global trading, but it is the technology itself. It's the widening the fact of the rich and the poor, the developed and the developing. But if that's a fact, what are we going to do? By using technology, by using science into each of our decisions. So I don't have an answer, but I pose that question to the audience to think.
Well, I would say that each and every one of you should stop treating artificial intelligence as something that's rocket science that you can't understand. You can understand it if you are a logical, creative thinker, or even if you have some basic IQ, everybody can understand it. It's not rocket science. I want everyone to open the black box, read about it, try to understand it, and you will then make the connection between your business, your organization, and how it can use AI. There is nothing more that is worse for our society than treating techies and AI folks as specialists they can understand it and you can't understand it. And I would highly encourage everyone to do that. This is my mission, to open this black box so that we can all partake in its benefits.
Thank you. I think what I want you all to remember is that AI is a tool. Who here has emails? Who here has an email? Do you have a spam filter? That is AI. Alright? So really, we're all scared because we don't understand. And I just want to echo what Aisha said here. There's a lot of information out there. Read about it, and then you will understand why the four of us here on stage, and David probably, is optimistic about this new field that we are entering, and this new era that we're all entering. So yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, that you feel, as I do, that we've had some really important and insightful and ultimately very optimistic contributions this afternoon from all the panels. So please give all of our four contributors a great round of applause. They were absolute joy to moderate, because everyone was really so engaged and knows so much and is so passionate about the subject. I think for me, the takeaways, first of all, language does matter. And as I've been listening to the debate, artificial intelligence does create a rather a sense of Frankenstein and so on. And so maybe we do have to try and push to change the order of the language, that we are talking about augmented or amplified intelligence rather than something which seems completely alien to us, number one. Number two, there's a group of the biggest of the kind of IA companies, like Google and Apple and Amazon and Facebook, IBM, Microsoft, which have come together to create something called the Artificial Intelligence Partnership, based in San Francisco. led by a former senior official in the Obama White House. They are recognizing that they have to get ahead of the debates around these questions and specifically the responsibilities of business. I would encourage you, those of you from here in Asia, to make sure that that is not simply a debate going on in the North Americans atmosphere, but is actually also highly relevant here in Asia. And that last but one point from Asia about the crucial importance of joining up the debate between what's our future thinking about new economics and making sure that IA is absolutely integrated within that, as well as sustainable development. So thank you all very much.
Well, first of all, a lot of the work that we do is, and we're a team of machine learning engineers, AI specialists, and data scientists, is helping companies build the AI engines that will improve their services, make them more customer-centric, reduce costs, and also help them ultimately innovate in the face of disruption. One of the big myths of AI is that you need something that is completely separate from the organization, that's almost like an automatic, magical instrument that doesn't require the input of the people who are running the business as much. In fact, I think the domain expertise is critical for the AI to be built in a way that benefits not only the organization but also its customers. So I think it's very collaborative, the way we need to approach AI. Well, look, some of it is justified. There will be loss of jobs, but there will also be new jobs created. And if we are able to teach people how to work with AI specialists, we will be able to create new teams that are empowered and will contain the people who had the traditional domain expertise, but now have been upskilled with some digital expertise as well. On the other hand, because of movies and novels that look to 100 or 200 years in the future, there is an unsubstantiated fear of AI in the present. We are nowhere near that point where AI can fully substitute for a human being in terms of creative thinking, empathy, and communication, or even become more intelligent than humans. We need to do two things. First of all, we need to teach computer literacy, or the foundations of computational thinking, to all students. And this means that we need to treat it the same as we treat reading, writing, and math. It's at the same level. It's a foundation for any successful person in the future economy. And the second thing is, we should not make the mistake of treating it as completely separate on the side in a way that we have often taught math and science in Asia, which is very rote learning based. But we should try to integrate it with the social sciences and humanities so that we're really treating the package as a collaborative team effort that leads to better outcomes.
Wow, I love that idea. Now, speaking of collaboration, so we are now in a room of over 600 makers, doers, leaders. What do you hope to come out of this conference after this meeting? And what is your call to action to the people who are here today?
I've been very impressed by the engagement with the audience, with the people that I've spoken to, and the level of nuance that I've seen in the speakers. So I actually think we'll come out of this, and hopefully the next point of action will be everybody will go back and their organizations and prepare for an age of disruption with AI, but prepare for it not in fear, but in anticipation and optimism, and to embrace it, to power boost their own organizations, and to bring their employees with them on that journey by giving them the right training. And I think that that's what I'm really hoping will happen next out of a great conference like this.
Wow. And
the most important thing for us is that we have this new entity that we are giving power to, which is AI, and yet it is treated as a black box. It is not only because we think it's difficult, but fundamental to the algorithms is the fact that there is less transparency and accountability of how certain decisions were reached. And it is essential that we begin to use research and policy together to open this black box and that we have the values of humanity, which include transparency, accountability, and ethics, embedded by law into our AI systems.
So I'm right now running this game company called Wafa. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of WafaGames. So WafaGames, what does WafaGames do? WafaGames is a AI innovation-driven company to create games that has never been created before. So we use AI as a training sample to learn the behaviors of human players to better accommodate their gaming experiences. So that's what we do. So we're actually more like a technology company than a game company, but we do make video games and mobile-based video games mostly. Well, it's actually a very early stage startup. It's right now just been a year. Well, this is actually my third startup. So my last startup, we were acquired by a public listed company in China. I was actually on my way to take a vacation before I accidentally bumped into the conversation with my current CTO, and we end up talking all night and the whole night. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna do my vacation. Let's just do this. So the next day, well, actually 3 days later, after I signed the contract, closed the deal for my last startup, I started this WafaGames. So it's been a year. Right? It's been a very rewarding, very, very challenging, because innovation, even though it sounds cool, but it's when it's implementing every day and practice, sometimes it's it's really killing you. Sometimes it's really hopeless. You feel hopeless because there's no roadmap. There's no people has solved that problems for you. So it can be very devastating. But I guess you just keep trying, and that keep pushing. Especially when you solve something, when you think you solve something, that joy is nothing can be compared.
Definitely. And
well, I don't think anything will be gender blind if we don't work towards it. First of all, I think we need to acknowledge their gender differences because they are biologically, they are men and women. Now we are just different, and men and women are good at different things, just as many other aspects. Different individuals are good at different things, certain things, and we definitely I think we work better together. So. Just like whether force industrial revolution, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's machine learning eras, we need to work for the gender equality, because the equality will not come. I don't give specific advices in taking a path of career, because I think what you have to take is what you close to your heart. You're gonna choose something you love. But I do think as a woman, I was in the same situation, thinking or feeling hell confused with my life and choices as well. Everyone has been there. And so one advice I can share is don't live a life for others. Whether that reason or that person seems how important to you, don't live your life for those reasons. Live your life for yourself first, because that will at the later stage give you tremendous freedom, and also at the same time make you a much more charming woman.
yes.
So yeah, do live for yourself. That's the only advice I think I would like to share. I think education is always my passion. I mean, it's actually my most passion. I think first of all, the way we look at the education, or way we look at learning, education is not only for kids, and learning is also not only for for children. Education and learning also apply on our daily life and in our future as well. So I think if we have that mentality, it doesn't start particularly at some point, it never ends. I think that will also change our mindset and also the conduct of the education in the school as well. And we do, I think education also, the purpose of education is, of course, it's make us more scalable, make us more skillful, but also eventually to make us a better human beings.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Rahul. Welcome to the Future Imagine Summit. I'd like to start this interview by asking you to give us more information. Tell us more about yourself and what you do, the things you're passionate about.
Okay, I'm Rahul. I'm Mehrotra. I'm from Montreal, Canada. I'm a product manager at Microsoft Research. Our goal is to really build technology that maybe will be in products from 5, 10, 15 years from now, but really push state-of-the-art forward in terms of research. So key areas I really focus on is natural language understanding and natural language processing. So teaching machines how to read, how to understand, overall, to build a literate machine. And I think language is really important because that's what separates us from all the other animal species. So if you can teach a machine how to communicate, how to read, then you can really build truly intelligent machines that can help solve problems that we can't solve today.
We're talking about intelligent machines.
Yeah.
What do you think is a skill? Like for humans, what do you think are skills? Could be long forgotten, could be current, could be new.
Yeah.
That humans could improve on right now to be able to prepare for the future.
I think learning to learn is probably one of the most important skills that, as a human being today, I could focus on. I mean, technology is completely changing the way we work, the way we live, the way we interact with each other. Looking at how you work, it's a real possibility that jobs will become obsolete. But at that point, what do you end up doing? You do need to be able to re-educate yourself. You need to be able to relearn or learn new skills that you don't have today, just so that you don't become irrelevant in the future.
Yeah. Amazing. What do you think? Okay, let's talk more about low-hanging fruits, because there's so many things people are doing, right? So around the world, people are doing so many things. Some of them overlap, some don't. What do you think? Like in a developing country, like you've been in the Philippines for a short while, but I'd like to know if you've seen, like based on your observations about the country, are there things that you think can be low-hanging fruits or quick wins that people could already start doing to be able to prepare for a reimagined future?
That's a really good question. So one thing I love about Philippines is that people are creative here, which is so important. You're not all technical people, which is great, because I do think that being creative, being imaginative, creating things of value that are beyond just a call center is important in this economy, where if your job does get automated, there are things that machines will never be able to do. So really being able to focus on those skills. Beyond that, I think really educating yourself about what does AI mean, what its capabilities are, but more importantly, what its limitations are. Because once you can figure out what the limitations of AI are, then you can start to focus on that area and be like, AI can't do this, but as a human being, I'm much better suited to sort of accomplish this task. So really focus more on that.
I'd like to build up on that. We've been talking about AI, learning AI, and here in the Philippines, there's always a lot of people still think that AI and tech is something that's intimidating. So how do you explain it in a way that people would understand? Like if you describe AI now to a person in the hopes of encouraging that person to transition into learning new things, these kinds of things, how will you say it? How can we do it from our end as well?
Okay, well, first of all, I really don't think AI needs to be intimidating. It's just a tool. It's no different than when internet came out like 20, 30 years ago, or when it became more popular. People might have thought, I'm going to lose all of my jobs because people will no longer need me. They'll just use the internet for everything. So again, first of all, don't be intimidated. Really try to understand what AI is. At the end of the day, it's just a tool. It's nothing to be afraid of.
What are the things that inspire you about the future, and what are the things that scare you the most about the future?
Okay, I'll answer the scary part first.
Okay.
So, with any technology, there's the good and the bad. AI is one of those things where the bad can be catastrophic. And I really think we need regulation in place to make sure it's not getting in the hands of bad people and bad actors who can use it to manipulate our economy, manipulate the social, the democracy of the world. That's what really scares me. but at the same time, I'm super optimistic about the problems AI can help solve. And one of the two of the biggest ones for me is education. How can AI help really educate the world? I just had a great conversation with someone about how Philippines is like in a dire need to re-educate its people. I think AI can really help with that. Like, we can build really specific learning curriculum based on each individual person and to help them really learn and grow. And second thing is healthcare. There's so many issues with healthcare globally that we haven't been able to solve, or diseases that we haven't been able to cure, that we've been spending so much time and money on. I really do think that someday AI will be able to help cure those diseases, and that's what really
actually take. And I see a lot of optimism in you towards our future. But I'm interested to learn those things that you are actually afraid of as well, especially here. Let's put it in the Philippine context.
Yeah, there are serious issues that we have to think about. I think Stephanie C. mentioned yesterday in one of the panel sessions that around 1.1 million Filipinos in the BPO industry will lose their jobs to robots, to chatbots. That's a serious issue. And that's really something that we need to think about, and not just in a very collaborative way. We need to understand the BPO industry. We also need to understand the different capabilities of these individuals who will be affected and how we can potentially help them. Of course, government, again, needs to come in. And the companies themselves, BPO companies, maybe they can offer trainings, right, in anticipation of what was going to happen with at the onset of like the coming of the robots or the chatbots. It's a very difficult problem. We've been thinking about this for since forever, since I can remember. It's not straightforward, definitely, but yeah, we just have to do our best and train other people outside of the BPO industry, the young kids, like what you said, those in the different provinces, so that when they decide on which specific jobs to take, which specific courses to take, they're more informed.
That's very, very interesting. And one of my final questions, feel optimistic that collaboration can actually happen across multi-sectoral sectors?
Yes, definitely very optimistic. Government is a huge entity. There's a lot of players in the government, and so far, those who I have encountered personally are all optimistic, and they really want to know how we can all work together. So yeah, there's no reason for me to be pessimistic about this thing.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you too.
It gives us so much hope. And if you have a message to young Filipinos out there who has a dream to become a data scientist and be part of building that future, what would that message be?
I think my message is not to so much focus on the specific field, but try to learn the skill to learn. We are now in an era that's fast changing. We don't know what's going to be hot in 5 years, what's going to be hot in 10 years, but if we have the ability to learn and adapt, we will definitely thrive and survive.
Love those words, thrive and survive.